Imagine a world where two of the most formidable nations, China and Russia, are teetering on the edge of collapse. What if I told you their alliance, far from being a symbol of strength, is actually a fragile arrangement driven by necessity? The real danger may not lie in their potential rise, but rather in their imminent fall. As the geopolitical landscape shifts at a rapid pace, the consequences could be dire. Join us as we explore the future of global power dynamics. In a recent discussion, geopolitical strategist Peter Zeihan illuminated the precarious nature of the China-Russia relationship and why their current alliance might be more unstable than we realize.
They're associating it's an alliance of convenience. They hate each other more than they hate us. When I say China's not a threat, I don't think it's a long-term strategic threat. That doesn't mean there aren't things in the relationship that require an active hand. And doesn't mean that the Chinese can't hurt us. But they are not going to be around long enough. And I'm far more concerned about the impact of their decline than of their rise. When a country dies, weird things happen, and we should spend at least 2% of our effort in countering China and preparing for what happens the next day. We failed to do that for the Soviet Union, and we are still cleaning up that mess. Russia's different. China, if they decided to go on a military spree, they can't achieve anything. There's no place that they can go to get access to the resources and the markets that they need. They need global access as guaranteed by the US, and a military conflict is just going to hasten their demise. Russia's different. Russia isn't concerned with economic development in the same way. Their people are inured to misery. And the problem in Russia isn't naval access, it's land access. There's a limited number of places where other powers can access the Russian heartlands. And if the Russians can forward position troops in those spots, they can prevent any theoretical invasion from happening. And that's what the Ukraine war is all about, is getting to those spots. The two that are closest are in Romania and Poland. So it's not that Ukraine's the end of the story. It's just the next chapter. This is the ninth.
Peter Zeihan highlights that while China may not be a long-term strategic threat, its swift decline presents serious risks. Unlike Russia, which is concentrating on controlling crucial geographical areas, China's military ambitions are constrained by its reliance on global access, particularly access secured by the United States.
Post-Soviet war that the Russians have instigated, not the first. And it won't be the last if they win. And the next wave will involve NATO, and it will involve us.
Oh, wow.
The goal here is to prevent the Russians from ever leaving Ukraine. Because if they do leave Ukraine and they get to the Polish border and we get a direct fight between NATO and what has proven to be a completely incompetent Russian force, they're going to fling some nukes very, very quickly. And so if we are in that situation, we're going to find out two things real quick. Number one, how well does our missile defense work? And number two, are Russian nukes maintained as badly as everything else in the Russian military? I would rather not have that come to Jesus meeting. I would rather have the military conflict never go beyond Ukraine, and that's why supporting Ukraine is so important.
The ongoing conflict in Ukraine represents a critical turning point. The true peril lies in allowing the situation to escalate beyond Ukraine's borders, potentially leading to a direct confrontation with NATO. Such a scenario could have catastrophic consequences, including the potential use of nuclear weapons and severe strain on global defense systems. As we've analyzed Peter Zeihan's insights into global geopolitics, it's clear that the effects of the Ukraine war extend far beyond the battlefield. This conflict has not only reshaped alliances, but has also fundamentally altered the power dynamics between nations, particularly between Russia and China. The shift has been so dramatic that Russia, once a dominant power, is now effectively a subordinate partner to China. To understand this shift, we need to look back at historical contexts. In the early days of the People's Republic of China, PRC, China was overshadowed by the Soviet Union. Mao Zedong, despite being revered in China, was relegated to a mere puppet in Stalin's eyes. Mao's visit to Moscow in 1949 was marked by humiliation, with Stalin treating him as a subordinate and forcing China into an unfavorable arms deal. This established a dynamic where the Soviet Union was the dominant force and China the obedient follower. Fast forward 70 years, and the roles have reversed dramatically. The Soviet Union's former dominance has given way to a new reality. Russia now finds itself dependent on China. This shift began with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Faced with Western sanctions, international criticism, and exclusion from global events, Russia found itself isolated, with China emerging as a key ally. However, this relationship has come at a steep price for Russia. China has become the primary destination for Russian energy exports. Before the invasion, Russia was a major supplier of oil and gas to Europe, but sanctions have forced it to pivot its focus to China. In 2022, crude oil exports to China surged by 42.5%, reaching 1.82 million barrels per day, and by March 2024, this had climbed to 2.55 million barrels per day. Although this might seem like a lifeline for Russia, it comes with significant drawbacks. Russia is selling this oil at a discount, further impacting its revenue. Trade between Russia and China has also skyrocketed, with the turnover rising from $107 billion in 2018 to around $240 billion in 2023. And it is expected to grow by another 15% in 2024. This burgeoning relationship has deepened Russia's dependence on China. Another indicator of this shift is Russia's increasing use of the renminbi, China's official currency, which now accounts for roughly 42% of transactions on the Moscow Stock Exchange. Additionally, Russia's central bank has adopted the renminbi as a reserve currency after immobilizing half of its $600 billion reserves in the West. China's support for Russia extends beyond economic assistance to include military support, though it has so far avoided providing lethal weaponry, likely due to warnings from the US. Nevertheless, China's influence over Russia's military decisions is growing as the war in Ukraine continues. If you found this analysis insightful, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on this evolving geopolitical landscape. Thanks for watching.